Hey, how's it going? Give me a second here. Alright. Oh, let me also unplug. There we go. Because I would like you to take a look at my signs. Just for this disclaimer situation. Hair trying to go in my mouth. Why? You have no business there. Okay. I have some cards, which I'll get to. Hold on a second. But first, so like I started writing this thing the other day. I didn't know what was gonna go. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. I know what I intended to do when I sat down and started to write. But what I started to write was not what I intended to write, so this is not something I'm going to publish. This really is notes. And so I'm just going to read it because I think it's important for some reason. Like that is the idea I'm getting about it. So, okay. It's been an unusual time in the world, sure, an unsettling, upsetting time. It's both shocking and, if you've been paying attention to any of the socio-political hotspots, not a huge surprise. This has been building for generations and centuries, like a long time. More than centuries. No one should be surprised. Every time I start a sentence like this, it reminds me of someone who starts off a lot of what they compose this way. But anyway, moving on. As I write, I'm realizing maybe I need to rethink that position. On second thought, it may be that having the situations blowing up and tumbling down, those are things we're used to seeing happen in other countries, on our TV or other screens, and we look at it in horror. We're touched by the events, but I feel like even amongst the best of us, we can turn the screen, oh shoot, we can turn the screen off, but let's turn the screen off. Or to something else. You know, just like, oh, that's horrible. My heart is breaking for those people. Oh, FBI, bye. That kind of thing. We could sit there, we could sit there confident those things would never happen here. Once upon a time, our government is specifically engineered not to fall apart in just those specific ways. I suppose even if we saw the whole thing coming, we can still be shocked. We've long lived under the illusion that our whole way of life where'd it go? We lived under the illusion that our whole way of life couldn't, God, why was I in such a hurry? Couldn't come under attack and be so weak it can barely repel the attack. So yeah, we just never saw that happening to us here. Like, we're America, and I mean, I've never subscribed to this wholeheartedly, that we're the greatest country in the world. Like, hey, have you been to the other countries? How the hell do you know if we're greater? Like, that just on that basis alone, but I got more. But just on that basis alone, I don't like that. Where was I? Yeah, it's pretty hard out here for a lot of us right now. We're either taking emotional hits that are bowling us over and we're stunned, like we don't know what hit us, or else we are devoid of emotions except for anger and contempt, as if the effects of the frozen raids and the raids are not hitting them in the heart, and the witnessing of the unjust events going on aren't either. That's pretty polar. It's as if the same effects creating an anger from previously untold depths, where care and concern are weakness to eliminate. Maybe their propensity to care enough to help us. Oh, maybe their propensity to care enough to help is what is angering them so. I don't know if that's right. Maybe their propensity to care enough to help is what's angering them. Like they just got a little bitty like desire to help or empathy. It's like really starved and swollen and bitter and brittle and mean and anyway, I don't want to get carried away. Not quite yet today. I'm fairly newly awakened, like from sleep. Like I was asleep and I just got up like an hour ago. That's what I'm saying. Okay. It's serpents. What? It's serpents. On the target to work out that anger upon. It's serpents upon the target. Serpents? That can't be right, but that's what it... No, because serpents is not spelled... What the hell did I write? Oh... I don't know, it's some things on the target to work out the anger upon. It's projected, oh I see, it's projected upon the target. Oh, so the anger that the little tiny bit of giving a care causes, it seems really out of proportion too. Like they're big, angry, and hate everybody and everything. I feel like out of this little bitty tiny condensed, if you picked it up, you probably couldn't. You'd probably need like 10 elephants to drag it on the ground. It's deep, it's heavy, it's tiny, but it's really powerful. Okay, it's projected upon the target, the anger. It's projected upon the target to work out that anger. It's serpents upon... Oh, no. What did I write? I can't read that. It serpents upon the target to work out that anger. No. Oh, it's serpents. Sorry. Wow, did I spell serpents wrong? I spelled it S-E-R. Hi. No wonder it makes no sense. Okay, there we go. Wait, is that how you spell it? Now I gotta look it up. Hold on. I'm losing my mind. All I can say is, okay, crazy. I did spell it right the first time, but what was confusing me is I was not reading the rest of that serpent sentence. I was reading the rest of a different sentence. Let's try that again, but I'll just tell you, the anger, it's serpents eating their own tails. Not like Ouroboros. I mean, they're just like the angriest dog in the world. So angry, they're paralyzed or petrified. Anyway, right? Sorry. Yuck. Well, that was unpleasant. Alright. It's serpents eating their tails. Where did the serpents go? Don't slither off so I can't find my way. Okay. It's serpents eating their own tails. It's a frantic energy. I've heard a lot of people talk about the way some of us were kind of broken. What the hell, man? We're kind of broken by the COVID lockdown. I can only remember the affected ones being male. I remember a couple of fellas that are no longer with us because during the lockdown, you couldn't really interact, you couldn't really go places and socialize. Anyway, they reported extreme anxiety when subjected to the sudden cutoff of social stimuli. The most anxious to some, oh boy. The most anxious to some, the most anxious to some that they'd ever been. So much so that it pushed them to ending it all. That's what I recall, because that was terrible. And to the best of my knowledge, it was all dudes. So they were having a particularly hard time, and they still are, and they were before that. Anyway, it's mainly been men reporting on this and the post-COVID state of malaise and abandonment of the world beyond their doorsteps. They describe men who've become fatalistic, cynical, bitter, disillusioned by a world that makes it difficult to out of reach to achieve the things their parents and their parents' parents and so on were. Cars and homes and family, all incredibly expensive for most. Success for a few, but not for all. So that hasn't changed. The expectations to have those trad goals haven't changed to meet the current economical realities. The stories they were told through whatever medium prepares none of them for today's realities, nor are they prepared for today's women. Many of us / them are also going through some things and have begun to lose all patience with being expected to mother partners and children at the same time as pursuing their own goals. Few are still waiting for the day some prince will come. I don't have the answer to their problems, my own and of women as a whole. We have enough going on, thanks. We're all struggling to, or simply making our way as best we can. Clarity is an unpolished stone and highly sought after by many of us. However, I don't think most of us are aware of how superficial the world we live in, and mostly are only aware of there are layers of depth that are whole other levels of realities, plural. Perhaps not just enhanced versions of the one we're so fired up in, but parallels and potentials we're missing consciously. So I'm a little confused by that I wrote consciously, because it seems like it would make more sense, sort of, if it had been unconsciously. Oh, man, that's a long sentence. Where's the beginning? Oh, okay. There are layers of depth that are whole other levels of reality. Perhaps not just enhanced versions of the one we're in, the one we're so fired up in, but parallels and potentials we're missing consciously. So here's why I'm confused, because I think as I was writing this, I was thinking there's like all of these other levels, and knowing that the one that we're in, where we're so fired up, we're arguing, we're fighting, we're running away from each other because we're being chased by each other. There is so much going on to trap our attention, but mainly what that takes is to trap our emotions. And we've gotten so good at serving that up for each other. Like, it isn't going to work unless it's to an extreme degree, because that is where we're at with our tolerance level. And so the rest of us happily supply the anxiety that we're asking for. But we're not like, we don't wake up and go, I want to have a fully stressed out day, have everything go wrong, be able to do nothing about it, have no one to talk to address the problem. And, like, you understand what I'm saying? Just, like, we don't wake up going, give me a whole day of frustration. In fact, just give me a heart attack now. We don't wake up like that, I don't think. And so what all of that does, though, is it gets you worrying about so many other things that you don't have the, like, bandwidth to think about, like, wait, there's, like, a parallel universe that's right next to us that, in a way, actually even affects us? How did I not know that? But it's like, on some level, we do know that. But we get so plugged into the crazy, staticky one we're in that we like I said, we don't have the bandwidth. A lot of us even want to conceive of such things, because what's going on here, will you stop it? What's going on here is so loud and, just triggers all of the emotional tender spots. But we see glimpses of it in, like, art and music and entertainment, because that is how it filters up and through us. Like, that's where, like, a sense of hope can come from, because you know that, like, this is not all there is. Okay, so I just wanted to say, like I said, I'm pretty sure I started out wanting to write something completely else than what I put down. Let me make sure I haven't finished here. Unconsciously, we may be versions of us having other experiences in very similar realities. On the other side of mirrors or tears that we fail to see until we step into or through them, suddenly never to be seen again. National park disappearances, I'm talking. Look it up. Mysterious disappearances, where, like, you're walking on the trail with your kid and they're behind you, like, pardon my language, dicking around and looking at shit and not paying attention, but they're making sounds of walking behind you and, talking and exclamations of wonder, perhaps, whatever it is, but they're back there, And then all of a sudden that you don't hear them at all, and you look around and they are just gone, and there is no one else around, and everybody goes looking, and tragically, and I'm not thinking of, I'm giving an example that I have dreamed up, but I know that it has happened this way. And then that kid is just gone, and then sometimes the kid is found miles and miles away at another location, as if they were like returned from somewhere, and they might be kind of like mussed up, like clothes and hair all tousled and maybe dirty. And it's, I'm sorry, and here comes something else. While they're gone, different time is happening. Like maybe they were gone for a lot longer wherever they were, but they came back to relatively quickly here. So that is what I mean when I say, when I'm talking about the tears that we fail to see until we step into or through them, suddenly never to be seen again. Or, perhaps to be seen again. In this one, experiencing who knows what in a nearby next door one. Oh, okay. On the other side of mirrors or tears that we fail to see until we step into or through them, suddenly never to be seen again in this one. Oh, never to be seen again in this reality. Although I did just talk about them people being found. Both things happen, apparently. And the reason why you don't hear a lot about it and it's not big news is because it is suppressed. It is not, like, if people want to report on it, they can, but it's not encouraged. Like, all of a sudden, maybe you have an experience and you start writing about it, or you start trying to probe into why it's happening, and, you run into that sort of dichotomy of where, like, the parks ain't making a whole bunch of noise about it either. They're keeping real quiet, and that is because that dissemination of that information is not encouraged. They don't want it talked about. I don't know why. I don't even know who the they is. Like, I don't know who is pushing the parks around on that level, but it apparently exists because there's been reporting on that. So yeah. On the other side, walking through the tears, never to be seen again in this reality, or maybe you'll see him again. Who knows? Like, seriously, who knows? Never to be seen again in this one, experiencing who knows what in a nearby next door one. So, okay, this is, and I haven't written this down, but here's what I intended to write about was in the arena of what's happening currently in the United States, where, like I said, those frozen raids are happening, and a lot of people are being swooped up. Hold on a second, let me take a drink of my gigantic coffee. And so, as usual, I'm like sort of drag netting through information, fishing, I guess you could say, and watching a lot of things. And I have been watching a psychic that is new to me, and she has, she seems like she gets a lot of information through the guides, and I haven't been watching her long, so I don't really know, like, what her accuracy is, and that doesn't matter. Like, that's not, I'm not all, I won't watch you unless you're 59% accurate, or, that seems low, but whatever. I just, like, happened upon her, and a lot of them, like, see things, by see things, I mean, like, psychically, the information comes in different ways. Like, people will see, like, conflicting things that Don't spill. Seem like that, well, who's right? Or those are such close predictions, or, well, yeah, predictions, but, you know, one is saying something slightly conflicting in that same sounding prediction. And she also sort of defines things slightly differently from most of the ones that I have been watching, in that she seems to also see like multiple timelines or potential timelines. Like, you know, there's so many things going on at one time that could be one little thing, like one little tiny mean bitter black pill in a soul that tips a whole bunch of other events. And so she said that she sees a lot more than she actually like gave up when I was watching this one particular time, but she gave up 5, and they all were things that, like, yep, I can see how that would happen. And you don't need to be psychic to figure those things out, I don't think. Like, as I mentioned when I was reading, if you've been paying attention to things that are happening, then you will perhaps extrapolate from that information what could go on to happen. And she does conflict. She does conflict a little bit with the other ones that I see, but my own projections also sometimes conflict a little bit. Perspectives and timing and location and the age of the person and what they've been through, all of these things can color your perceptions when you're sort of reading these potentials. And I guess I do see potential, so I was just going to say, oh, I'm not like that, I don't see that, but that's not really true. I don't think of it, I don't know, we all receive differently, and through this person, I was able to see what I thought that I thought up, and I actually know that this is the case when you have like a whole thing that you're thinking of sort of resolve, is partially like what you bring to the table when the information is presented, but it's also partially flavored by whoever is sending it to you through the veil, like whoever is giving you the inspiration. And yes, spirit, but spirit contains many mansions inhabited with other divine counterparts. Okay. So another thing I want to say here real quick is that I often wonder, am I like, well, I'm pretty much resolved to the idea that yes, when I write, I'm channeling, but am I automatic writing? And the reason why I question it is because I've seen people do it in a lot of different ways, which I just like sort of answered my own question. I shouldn't have a question, that being the case. And I think what happens to me is what I've seen happen to another psychic, to a psychic. I'm still like kind of not fully ready to just be all, yeah, I'm a psychic, because I don't think I'm like under control or have learned how to like work the controls on this stuff. But what I did realize watching her talking about what could potentially happen going forward, and like I said, you don't have to be psychic for this stuff, because what she was talking about is the frozen raids picking up people that are like vital to the delivery system of goods and groceries, and like a whole, like, I saw this a long time ago. Like, if you start taking the immigrants and the brown people out, work is not going to get done. So she was talking about delivery drivers, like grocery drivers or gardeners or whoever, if they sound or look a certain way, the frozen police have orders to harass, harm, pick them up, throw them out, disappear them, like whatever they're doing, which is ever so shady. So when that started happening, it became pretty obvious what was going to happen to like all of our vital systems, like the child care and the people that work in the medical care community, and also right now, pay attention to who let this happen, who bought off someone in order to gain more leverage over everyone. And only certain highly placed people can do that. Prominent people, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's too late, but I should exercise a little caution. So she was saying, like, that is one of the things that's going to happen as a result is we're going to have, like, empty store shelves erratically, or we're going to have, like, services just get all weird, and by services I mean like the grid, or your ability to log on, to, like, even if you have power, like the net might be down, like the internet. all potentials. I've heard like it's gonna be terrible and dark and everything's gonna shut down, and they're telling you this in a way that sounds really dark and depressing, and then they're like, but stay, positive. And I'm like, how? When you put it like that? And then there are other ones that are like, yeah, there's going to be interruptions, stock up, be prepared. One commonality is stay your butt in the house, which is difficult because people want to protest, but it's becoming sort of, like I have said in the recent past, dangerous to be out there trying to protest. The really large, like, rallies or marches, that's not the same thing that I'm talking about, because in those situations, the numbers change the outcome. Like, there's way more of completely thawed people than there are of the frozen people, and like their antics just wouldn't work in those numbers. And there's a word, of course I can't think of what it is. It's not dichotomy, but I guess it's the mathematical equivalent. And so I don't know, what she was talking about, the psychic that I started watching, sort of aligned with a lot of what I was hearing and feeling and seeing from people like herself also forecasting. And then I was watching yet another person that's a card reader, and they were talking about a lot of stuff, but at one point they started talking about like the black community, like coming together with like all of the other protesters. And because I saw videos of other black people talking about their view of the situation, which were also things that I was picking up on, like when those same people being picked up and disappeared by the frozen people, that's gonna put a dent in the way things run. But if we just had another ready source of employees to jump in there on hand. So this was months ago now, but that didn't go well, because the people that were doing it had been doing it for like generations, and they're sort of like physically, their bodies were already like used to the hours, used to the labor, used to the conditions, and then they tried to bring in white people and they couldn't last through a day, because it is hard work, and you're not used to being stooped over all day, and you gotta move it because there's like miles of stuff to do, literal miles. And they were complaining, and they wanted a chair, which, side note, I had a job briefly as an administrative assistant at a factory, basically, and we'd have to get like day laborers, but from like places like Workforce, or I don't know, where you show up for like, maybe you'll get a day's work and wages and a check in that day, like total temporary employees, but not like ones in like offices where they have administrative or managerial jobs. These were like these were people that were intended to work in the warehouse at this place. So hold on. They were all white, and most of them did the work and just shut up and did it. You knew they didn't want to be there doing it for those crappy wages, but if that was your only source of income, you just did it because it was your only source of income, crap or not. It was like income. So they just came in and they had a resigned air, but you didn't have to hear about it, and they didn't complain. Then I had there always had to be one or two people that were complaining, like they needed a chair, and you're trying to explain what they're there to do, and you're like, this is what your duties are, and one idiot is like, duty, talking about poo-poo, and I'm like, are you 4? Because I'm not looking for a 4-year-old to work here. And I had to literally say, look, everybody else does not have a chair. I don't have a chair. I was just on my feet constantly, walking all over the floor of this place. I didn't have a friggin' chair because I didn't have time to sit down unless I had some sit-down work to do, like filling out sheets or something. Whatever, in the computer, writing them, whatever. But mainly, I'm up on my feet all day too, and they're talking about, I need a chair, my back hurts, my feet hurt. And I'm like, well, maybe you should not have come in. And those people, I don't want to have to tell you more than once, because you are there for a purpose, and it is not griping and complaining and not doing the work. So I ended up sending home a bunch of people. You can't always count on people that don't want to do work, really. They, I guess, just want to be paid for being their delightful selves. That's not where you belong. Don't go places where it's a job and then you're expected to do some work. And so I feel like those are the kind of people that were showing up at these fields that these farmers were trying to hire. And at the same time, without even having to say it to any other black people, how long before they're going to be asking for black people to come back and be slaves? And it's like, I know my first thought was, I'm not doing that. And I mean, I would be useless. I'm in a wheelchair. I can, it's just maybe if there was a factory floor or something, I could do some work. But anyway, then I started seeing the videos, and they're laughing, other black people laughing, because they know they're looking at us, and they haven't said it yet. And then they being the white farmers, and then they started saying it, come on back, you're here, we have this job, these works for you to do. And it's they really think that black people are just sitting around at home all day, I don't know, smoking weed, playing games. I don't know what they think, but we have jobs. We have jobs too. So I guess they expected us to lose our job, to not do our jobs where we could sit down probably and get paid and have some benefits and regular income, and not heat stroke and a backache. And did you know some soil is toxic? Anyway, this. But what I'm trying to say is the black people were also I'm not doing that, but laughing, because they really think that we're gonna be all okay. They listened to that one guy that said slaves liked being slaves. The slavery wasn't that bad. It's if you had some generational verbal history, or even just, I don't know, empathy, you would understand that no one wants to go back to a life where, did you see the back of the guy that has been pictured many times for like my lifetime of 60 plus years, where he had been beaten so many times that his back was just this crazy cross-hatching of scars from being whipped. And it's like, you guys already are violent toward us. I sure as hell do not want to be whipped like that. So it's like, no, you're not getting us to do that. And then they started getting angry because, like, come on, black people. Like, they were sharing, I was seeing these TikToks, and there's like, these white farmers are like all brokenhearted and upset because the black people are not just like, I guess they just expected us to turn around and jump back into that role. That is not mentally, that's crazy. And so I've seen a lot of videos from black people laughing at them hard and making fun of them about that, because from our perspective, that's fucking ridiculous. Are you insane? We don't want to do that. We're not gonna. Why should we help you? You didn't help us when you were behind Derek Chauvin, whatever, that guy that killed George Floyd, and that's public snuffing. A lot of you thought that was okay. Well, he should have just listened. He wasn't doing anything. Dude provoked him. I'm sorry, she was coming out. Choking me. Or all of the other people that we feel were unjustly killed. And so they already turned like pretty fast from, hey, come on back or come down, we'd love to have you, to a bunch of curse words about the people that they expect to oh man, excuse me. So yeah, we don't want to go back to that. That's ridiculous. And I say all that to illustrate my point, was that, guy, reader, don't be looking for them to come together with everybody too soon. But then, and don't think that like black people are not paying attention to what's going on. I keep thinking, I look and I'll see a whole lot of black people attending the things that are happening right now. And that is because I have also seen videos of them saying, yeah, we're staying out of this one. You guys can fight it out amongst yourselves. You don't listen to us anyway. Which is generally true. Look how they're treating all of the black politicians. The white ones are telling them to be quiet, like they're talking to little pets or children. Like, and also, I was going to say, like, people and things you don't respect, but you should respect both of those people and things. People and other creatures. Pretty much is what we should do for each other, no matter what the interaction happens to be. But this is why I actually wrote the guy in the comments that said, yeah, I wouldn't look for that to happen because of this and this and this. And so that is kind of what I originally wanted to talk about, is how don't be looking for us to be running to help in a hurry with any of this, because of the just continual treatment that we have gotten it over those centuries that have passed. You know, we have jobs, we have a level of comfort that none of us is going to give up to make less money to do backbreaking labor for somebody that's probably going to get mad at you and pull a gun on you or want to whip you or something psychotic like that. So this is why there's not a huge presence of black people. Like, I keep looking because I'm watching all the time. I'm a watcher, and their presence is not huge. And so, yesterday I was watching The Psychic, the newer one that I just started watching. Her name is Susan Lynn, by the way. And she started talking about the Black Panthers. And it was right when I was writing this. She was saying she was fearful of them. It made her, she's white, she's Southern, but she's not like a total racist type. You know, whatever black people want to think about white people, like, that none of them can be trusted and none of them care, well, that's just not true, obviously. And look at me, like, a couple paired up that were black colored, and enough so to produce me and a few others. So that's like unevolved thinking. Like, you just don't want to, because you have to be able to just be forgiving on some things, because everybody is not the same. Like, I don't have a bunch of kids with a bunch of different fathers. I have no kids. There are no fathers. I'm not opposed to that, but apparently they've been opposed to me. So, the thing is, things are not true of everyone. I don't speak. There are a lot of different black dialects. I probably don't sound like any of them, but that is because I have not been around them, and I'm not going to go into my whole personal thing about it, but I know that all white people are not any more all the same than any other race is all the same anything. Like, that's ridiculous. But she was saying that when black people show up, or the Black Panthers show up, and then they're black men, white people get afraid and lose their minds. Well, what is this deep-seated fear they have? Could it be connected to all of those years or centuries of, like, kidnapping and enslaving and beating up black people? You think that maybe doesn't have a genetic memory level thing? And some people can, like, loosen up on, like, the righteous anger over that, and some people can't. We're all different. Again, there's another way we're all different. And all of us, all of the us, the collective us. But she was saying they don't like it when they see black people gather and become vocal. They don't like it when they see black men, period. Black boys are a problem. They're scary. And so that makes it a problem in a lot of ways for us, understandably, us black people. And so then she was saying, and the Black Panthers, like, came around with guns, because there's a historical reference to what she's saying that you can easily find online. I hope, if it didn't get scrubbed, because they're, like, getting rid of black history, or they would like to. And that would be the current government type people and their associates. And so you want to disappear our history, but hi, we're still here and we've had the history, so you can't disappear our memories. Like, not all of us. Like, it's just crazy. The fear. And so it's like they've been waiting. Oh, they're always waiting. Like, you know, they presuppose, like, black people are the problem. They make everything wrong. It's like, no. That's your perception of things. That's your fear speaking. We don't care about you. We are not thinking about you. We got our own problems. But I think that stems from that history of enslavement and bad treatment. Like, they know they got it coming for doing that for so long and getting away with it. That's why they fear, like, colors, racial colors outnumbering the white racial color. And I don't know. You attract what you can't stop thinking about. That's all I can say. But she was right. The black men with the guns that were militant and Like, we don't want to take this kind of crap anymore. Like, it's what I was just saying, but from a different different place, a place of anger, a place of we don't want to take that. We don't have to take that. Everybody else can have a gun. We're supposed to be able to have one too. Like, we're part of the country, but man, it's dangerous. It is dangerous for them, for black people, to have guns in their hands. It just is, because I'm sorry, I hate that phrase, it just is, but look it up. There is historical precedence for that. But at the same time, like, from the Black Panthers' point of view, particularly at a time when we get a sense that some people would like to reenact slavery, and we're like, nobody wants to do that. And just the extrajudicial death dealing that happens, that has always happened, it's an always has happened thing, and that's like what we have to wear and carry around. We don't get any credit for that. I don't think people even think about that. It's only like, oh my God, stop talking about history, because the white kids will feel bad because of what their ancestors did to everybody else that wasn't. And it's just like, how do you think we have felt having to sit there and listen to that? Nobody ever talks about that. But now it's like this big, huge thing. It's like, thanks. That is the kind of attitude that will get no people showing up to help at your protests and such things. However, here's what I was writing concurrently when she started talking about that. They can't continue to do what they want to do to us. Other countries don't want to allow it to continue because they see us not standing for the division. They see us standing up for each other. If you noticed, very few black people out at marches. Or if you noticed, there are... Where'd my pen go? Oh, duh, it's right here. Let me just fix this real quick. If you noticed, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh, if you noticed, there are very few black people at marches, very few at these demonstrations. I kind of get it. We've been there and done that, and they're taking back what was so hard won. Well, they're wanting to, and they have a lot of the civil rights laws have been assaulted and removed, and like, I haven't really noticed it, which is good on us points, I think, but yeah, it now could, create a lot of problems we haven't had to think about for a long time. And it's not just like I've said it before, civil rights are not only for black people, they're for disabled people, they're for all of the races that are racisted against. I don't think the apathy will last on the part of black people. ICE has sporadically harassed us blacks, or we blacks, but it's nothing unusual. That perception is going to change when their own communities come under direct attack. And I do think that's coming. It's not just a feeling, it's also something that I have seen them talking about on the news. Or not the news, I'm sorry, on the, YouTubes and things, where people are just saying the things because they're not being censored by some network heads. Anyway, I think ICE may be the ones on the surprised end of the stick. that building in Chicago that Homeland Security / ICE raided with the helicopters, and the agents rappelling down onto the building, taking away people and their babies in the night. No one has forgotten that. I think trying to pull moves like that in Compton or Oakland, I think there will be other encounters taking place. There's a limit to people's patience, and like most of the country, they're armed. And in the two places I've mentioned, very well armed. And don't, I mean, just because black people are quiet, it's because they're not being asked by, like, national network types. But we're no different. Like, we also have our worries about people coming in the night and trying to get us, because that is a thing that has happened for centuries. Really, I'm almost done. No, I'm not. Maybe I am. Oh my God, I need more oxygen. I'd intended to talk about the black community and what I've seen them saying. What they won't do right now. Oh, I'd intended to talk about the black community and what I've seen them saying. What they won't do. And my later explanation of the probable situation that DHS aren't correctly assessing. And so Miss Susan said something similar. Like, I don't think that she didn't think that the agencies doing these so-called immigration raids that have been picking up citizens, homegrowns as the president called them, or immigrants, they're just going out there and getting communities that have had something negative to say about the current president. It couldn't be plainer. I'm sorry, but that's what I see. So that, and also like the wars. If I didn't get news from like the places where they're happening on the ground, I would have no idea really what was happening, or I'd have a very, very much edited idea. And the idea that they would edit the news in such a way that it's not telling you anything but like information that is slanted a certain way that may not even make sense to the viewer, but to whomever, you know, the owner of the network or some executive, whatever it is, there are things that they don't want said. Like, Whoopi Goldberg, I think, is in trouble for saying what people can objectively see on the news from that same network that also, by the way, saved Jimmy Kimmel's career. So don't get all scary because Whoopi Goldberg said the truth about what ICE was doing that can be seen probably on her same network, as well as all of the YouTubes and the TikToks and the Reddits and you name it. Like, everybody has a camera in their hand if they have a phone. So they're no longer the authority on the news and what the news is. Like, we can see what the prices are doing that the president is insisting they're not doing. Never listen to him anyway. He's probably never set foot in a store that wasn't a photo op publicity stunt. And he doesn't care. He, like, if we have to pay more and it's hurting us, I think his attitude is good. Because his behavior seems to illustrate that. So, oh my God. I was just kind of feeling like, God, like we need help. And I was like feeling bad about it, and it's hard to stay positive because there are so many things in so many ways that could, cause our moods to take a turn in the negative direction. And I just wanted to kind of feel better about it, because even though our lives are somewhere along the lines of a Matrix situation, like the movie, what the Matrix didn't have was the pre-birth contract, like that out where you can say, okay, as crazy and as terrible as this all is, this was all planned for. This, like one of my decks has a card that says, this is not my body, this is not my hair. The real me is like the frequency that is not visible to most eyes. What the eyes can see are what is presented in the physical package. But that doesn't mean that is all there is to the physical package. There are unseen elements that are very important that illuminate and animate each of us. So that's a dichotomy that's kind of hard to resolve all of the time. And when you're here in the body, it just all feels so real. So, to feel better, I pulled a couple of declarations of Mary cards, Mary Magdalene. And the first one says, may all sovereign beings know thyself, love thyself, to be thyself, in the grace of all that is. So I read that to say, we all are individuals, we all have our own personal self-governance, and to know ourselves and to love ourselves and to be okay with being ourselves. Like, I feel like this is saying, be who you are. That is the truest nature that you're ever going to get close to. And also close to source, like the overall expanse of everything, the source of everything. And so it's just a reminder, like, you are that person that plotted this out, that was a part of constructing the pre-birth contract, which is not just a personal matter. It's your personal matters that become entwined with others, or that affect the personal matters of someone else or several someones else in the collective. That was the number 27 card. So that adds up to a 9. 9 is a completion number, so that signals that there has been some sort of achievement or accomplishment. And I think collectively, even though it may not look like it, we are headed that way. And I think we're closer to an end and some resolutions to a lot of things than we realize. And we have to remember, time gets real wavy when we're talking about this stuff. Like, it's infirm, it's soluble, kind of. So, soon may not be soon enough for us, but relatively it's soon. And also, I don't know if everyone is having the perception of just how fast things are happening, how months, weeks and months and everything, hours, you name it, is flying by. Years are flying by. And it's kind of like, spend less time worrying about stuff and just stick to the things that keep you grounded, and where you don't lose your sense of self and the self-respect, and go out of yourself disrespecting others. Like, here and now, stay grounded. You are who you are, and that's okay. So this card is the number 13 card, and it has quite a bit more to say than that one. I am the resurrection of light in oneness. I am Mary, the Magdalene goddess. I am one with the Creator, source of all that is. There's that source I was just talking about. Eternally, I am feminine Christ, and I am that which walks the earth through every woman after me. May you be granted peace in thy sacred heart when you remember your truth. So, this is also, to me, going back to the pre-birth blueprint, because that is your truth. That is who you are. Here, you're existing on a number of planes unconsciously, but we females do have an inheritance, and the Christ, he wasn't Christ because he had a penis, okay? Christ is more of a title than an actual name, like a given name. And I don't think people realize that, because Mary learned from Christ, but he also learned from her. But because they were receptive to the idea that they could each learn from each other, and at a time when women were not, I guess, highly respected because they weren't allowed to be educated, really. But they were also conversant in things that men were not. Like, it wasn't just that the women were the hunter-gatherers. They had an affinity with, like, plant life and animal life, and an understanding of, like, biological nature that is mainly lost today. Like, not non-existent, but good luck finding someone like that in a, like, concrete canyon city. I'm sure they exist, because there's like a sprinkling of the unexpected everywhere. So, I mean, they can. I'm thinking, like, in shamanic terms. I'm thinking of, like, I had the word, but it escaped me, so I'll just go with shamanic. But this is a number 4 card. And the 4 is, well, like, a foundational number. Like, it is a place to build from, a place of a solidity that you can, hopefully, if it's designed and assembled correctly, remain standing for a really long time, like a pyramid, perhaps. And so, but I think that's also a metaphor for, like, each of us. We grow from a foundation of, like, knowledge, and then not just, like, what we here and now think of as, like, knowledge, like science and clinical lab stuff. This is more of a sensory thing where you align energetically with the substances, and then you know from, like, watching animals, do they consume it? When do they consume it? Which animals consume it and which ones don't? Like, you have all of these connections to make that have sort of been erased and removed from our consciousness. And, you know, we have all these buildings and parking lots on top of all of that, and it's a disconnection I don't think we realize is disconnecting us in a lot of ways. Whew, gosh, I have 5 cards, and I guess I'll go ahead and finish here. This is going to be a long one. It already is. Okay, so from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, again, I have Lost Compass, and that makes sense. This is number 35, which adds up to 8. And the subtitle is Getting Back to Integrity, which right now is going to take some strength, is going to take some fortitude, because we've let a lot slip. We have gone so far low in devaluing each other and, you know, forcing into these sort of linear corridors of what's allowed and what isn't. And it's like a manifestation of the loss of our shamanic knowledge and our sort of innate inner knowing and communion with alignment with the world around us. So I think the strength is here is what we're gonna need going forward. You know, if we're going to get back to integrity, we have to live with the integrity. Sort of, I guess, remind people what it looks like. Remind ourselves even. Okay, so this is the number 63 card, another 9. And the card is Winter's Dream. And it's a lot of sort of frosted over. There's like a nautilus, a spiral. I don't know, like a frozen giant. Oh, there's actually looks like there's a snail kind of. So yeah, maybe that's a snail there. I see like the suggestion of antenna here in whitish color. Little head sort of sprouting out right there. So snail goes pretty slow in any time, and I don't know, I just never really thought of what they do when it's really cold, because those shells can't be much insulation against the cold. They might be one of those creatures that can sort of go into a hibernation mode where their heart slows down, or you know, whatever they got going on in there. I assume snails have some sort of heart thing. But whatever it is, or like a fish can freeze, and then when thawed, it wasn't dead, it was just in suspended animation. So that seems to be what's suggested here. And there are other things on here that are harder to make out, but it looks like a frozen pond or stream side, like frozen water here, and then embankment, and there's the snail. I don't know what that is. A stone? I cannot identify those frozen objects, but I imagine they're whatever's around a body of water. And the subtitle is Gestation Period. Well, that's kind of wintertime in a nutshell. Like, it's not the growing season because the sun's not out as much and it's not as bright and vibrant. And we humans, you know, we go outside and do what we can do if the weather's bad, like the snow's like so high that you have to dig your way out of your front door, but you still got animals to go tend to, or whatever it is. But a lot of what you would be doing would be indoors somewhere, like repairing animal tack and saddles and whatever, plow, you know, tractor, whatever it is, like the things that are down for the season, you're maintaining them, you're doing the upkeep, and that could extend to, you know, making and mending clothes, or whatever it is that you don't have time for in the busy growing season when you're out running around in the sunlight, taking care of a million other things that you do in those times. But it's a period of slowing down. It's a period where you're in a lot of darkness, as if you were just in gestation, like in a womb. And it's just a very slowed down period where contemplation can take place. And also creativity, because the next card is number 33, which is generally related to spirit. And so the next card is Joyful Muse, and that makes sense because there's that inspiration coming from Source that I was talking about earlier. Like, we come equipped with a certain level of experience or a gift in areas, certain areas of creativity, and then we're inspired, and so we have something to put those abilities to use on, and it's a co-creation, and it's a making of beautiful music. Well, that's a hopeful way to look at it. I don't know that that's always the truth of what comes out, but there's something for everyone. This is making me think of classical music because of the violin. And classical music, I feel like, is a divine expression of spirit. It's like whatever the source, the substance of the inspiration from source is, it's interpreted through the creative human. And classical music, I think, is as close to God talking, I guess, or singing as you could get. I have never thought that before this moment. The subtitle on this card is inspiration. So there's you can see it's a kitty with a fiddle, but there's also a palette for painting there in the foreground. So that encompasses a lot of things. Like, you got to sketch, you got to dream up the piece of art that you want to portray. You got to sketch it, making a painting. Like, I don't do that because it is beyond my ability, really. Or if I were going to do it, I'm a late bloomer to go to art school, but hey, you never know. So the next card is number 10. So, I mean, 1 is, like, back at the beginning. 1 is the one, like, as in there is only one, and the one source. So, this card is Root Girl, and I want to say that it has to do with groundedness, and perhaps, since it looks like there's a fire inside, or a fire coming up behind this, it's a tree situation, but there also seems to be someone sitting here with like a feathered headdress. There's like the face, there's the lap with legs bent hanging down, like they're sitting on a throne type situation. And the fire is like a fire coming, or it's the fire inside. Some conflagration is happening. And the subtitle on this is The Disowned Self. So it might be one of those cleansing fires that happen in the forest because of lightning or some other source other than man starting the conflagration, starting the fire. And Root Girl is just sitting. It looks like she even has like a book in her lap. I don't know what she might be reading. Maybe not fairy tales, maybe human tales. But she's not really moved or moving. And she doesn't look disturbed. Like, this is a thing that happens. And while it's happening, you want to stay calm, stay grounded, do what you would normally do. Read your book, sit in your chair by the fire. And in that period of gestation, you are finding yourself. So maybe what's on fire here is the disowned self, the one that was not paying attention, the one that was not sort of locked into what's happening, unaware and sort of fumbling around and creating accidental fires. Like the part of yourself that momentarily sends you off in misguided directions. Okay, so the last card I have is the number 7, and it is Covenant, and the card is Sacred Contract. So that indicates to me that you have found your way, gone through some stuff, had some time to contemplate, had time to work through what was there and be inspired to go forward and finish up the last bits of what you had left over from before. You've done everything you could to prepare for that, and you've gone through it, and it's time to make a new contract with yourself and the collective, because as you can see, that scroll is blank, but it's just waiting there for you to fill it with new duties and activities that we assign ourselves that are necessary for the continued forward movement of the collective. For those of us that are focused on that, actively sort of conscious of doing that, like your light worker or your way shower or your starseed helpers, you know, because we're all going through something together, and we may not understand that all of this mishigas and scary stuff is part of our transitioning. And maybe when we're like a frozen snail, those are what our dreams are like. And because we know that the winter is going to end and things are going to thaw and become beautiful and light and spring again, you know, it's a cycle. Like, renewal always comes. How much renewal gets done? Well, how much preparation did you do during the gestation period? What are you consciously willing to take on? And even unconsciously, I think we do a whole lot more unconsciously than we have any clue. Like, it's because it's like those autonomic sort of built-in systems that we have that we don't really have to pay a lot of attention to. Although when we sleep, I think a whole lot more goes on than just dreaming than we realize. I think a lot of repair work gets done. I think a lot of the hard stuff that maybe we can't deal with in the light of day gets worked through. But as all of that happens, we come to the terms of what the new contract is going to be. And clearly, personally, and not only personally, but like in the world, there is that going on. We're definitely in a period of transition. Sides are pulling for dominance, and I just want to say that maybe that's not the right tone to take anymore, like that whole pulling and forcing for dominance. Yeah, been there, done that. We don't want to do that. Like, I feel time for us to move into something that we can all enjoy and get something out of, and not just like in the way that we traditionally have, where when you get something, somebody else has to lose something, because there's plenty to go around of whatever there is. And okay, I have thought and said a couple of times, maybe devaluing money is the way to go, because you can't like hold things over people's head if they're worthless. You can't continue. I said it right in the beginning. Where was it? Hold on, I'm making my end point here. Where is it? They can't continue to do what they want to do to us. We are not going to allow it anymore. Maybe we were stunned to start with. We didn't know what to do, but we're finding our foot. We're finding our feet. We're getting our balance. We're figuring out what we need to be doing going forward and what we will not be doing going forward. Like, I am not going to sign a contract giving away my autonomy for like a terrible deal. Like, there's going to be an end to that. Thank you and good night.